about this for an op-ed? Why do young Americans support Hamas? Look at TikTok. Congressman Mike Gallagher wrote that. He is, by the way, the chair of the China Select Committee in the House, and he joins me. I'll tell you why young people support TikTok, sir. It's because they've got the best algorithms, and they run that platform very, very well. That's my response.
Well, no one is denying the technological achievement of TikTok. The fundamental problem is who controls the algorithm. TikTok is, of course, owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company that is beholden, like most Chinese companies, but especially their technological champions, to the CCP. We've had ByteDance executives apologize in the past for failing to follow appropriate political direction. So the issue we must confront, and admittedly it's a complex, difficult issue, but the issue we must confront is whether we want to allow the dominant media platform in America to be one controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, because TikTok is not just a source of dance videos. Increasingly for young Americans, millennials, Gen Z below, it's how they get the news. And that's really the concern. If they can control what information you get, then they can have almost unlimited power. That's the concern we have.
Do you want a total nationwide ban on TikTok?
I am for either a ban or a forced sale. If we could effectuate what the Trump administration tried to do but ran into a legal buzzsaw, which is force a sale to an American company that would crucially have control of the algorithm. And I think this is where the middle ground arrangements, there was this thing called Project Texas, a mitigation agreement, but it didn't really address the core problem of algorithmic control. But if we could do that, I think it would be a win-win. American investors wouldn't lose money. We would have national security concerns that would be alleviated, and you could spin off into a TikTok America. Now, we'd still have the issue of whether social media in general is good for our kids, and I don't think it is. Jonathan Haidt and others are convincingly arguing that we're allowing a whole generation of children to be raised by Instagram and TikTok, and thus we shouldn't be surprised that they're all depressed, suicidal, obese, etc. But that's a separate issue, right? That is mostly an issue for parents. I'm concerned about the national security issue.
Okay, let's change the subject, Congressman. President Biden urged Israel's Prime Minister Netanyahu to agree to a 3-day pause in the fighting to help secure the release of hostages. Congressman, wouldn't a 3-day pause give Hamas a huge advantage?
Even former Secretary Clinton and Nancy Pelosi have said as much, that a pause, a ceasefire, helps Hamas. I fear that the president, who admittedly started off strong in his rhetoric supporting Israel, is slowly succumbing to pressure from the radical left, the Hamas caucus in Congress, the Intifada left, who want to blame Israel in the wake of this heinous, horrific terrorist attack on Israel, have never recognized Israel's right to defend itself, and some occasionally even admit that Israel should not exist. The president can't succumb to that pressure. A ceasefire would only benefit Hamas and its patron, Iran. And there we have the biggest problem, Stuart. The Biden administration, despite being mugged by geopolitical reality, refuses to change its Iran policy. It remains wedded to reviving Obama's nuclear deal with Iran. That is really the source of chaos in the region. And if you don't get that right, they're going to be struggling to make sense of the Israel-Gaza conflict and other parts of the Middle East.
It sure sounds like President Biden's relationship with Netanyahu is fraying. You agree with that?
It seems that way. I mean, listen, obviously the Obama administration had a hostile relationship with the Israeli government, talked about creating daylight between the United States and Israel. And since we now in the Biden administration have Obama 2.0, a continuation of the foreign policy, we see the same tensions right there. It's a huge opportunity tonight, Stuart, for the Republican presidential candidates to strongly articulate our need to support Israel in its effort to achieve total victory, which involves the elimination of Hamas's ability to wage war and deterring Hezbollah in the north. And that's the third Republican debate, and it takes place tonight in Miami. Congressman, thanks very much for joining us, sir. We appreciate it, always.